Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kev's Movie Corner. I'm Kev, and this week we are talking about Raging Bull. Raging Bull was released in 1980. It's a Martin Scorsese film starring Robert De Niro as the main character, Jake LaMotta, and Joe Pesci as his younger brother and manager in the boxing ring. And that tells you a little bit what it's about. It's about a boxer in the 1940s trying to make it to the top, make it to a championship fight. But his violence, his anger, and just his attitude in the ring, which does get him to the top, to a championship fight, ends up destroying his life outside of the ring. I am personally not a big fighting movie person when it comes to just like boxing or fighting. I'm not a big fighting person in general. I'm not a big fan of boxing or fighting sports. That's just me. For this movie, I did think it was an okay film. I don't know if I said it's directed by Martin Scorsese. It is a good film. AFI has it in fourth place on their top 100 films of all time. Personally, I really like Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. I like a lot of movies they're in. Personally, there's another movie on this list that I would put. I would have them trade places as far as where they go on the list, and that's Goodfellas. Like I much prefer. I know it's still violence. It's still a really violent movie. Actually, Goodfellas is probably a lot more violent than this. It's just a different type of violence. Goodfellas is ranked as number 92 on the AFI list, American Film Institute list of 100 best movies of all time. I would trade those because I am not, like I said, a fan of the fighting movies. I thought this was okay. I personally enjoyed it more than Rocky, which is also on this list and we watched in the past. If you've been watching the movies with us, we've watched that in the past. But Rocky is, I think the reason that I like this over Rocky, because I think Rocky's a good movie as well from as far as a movie goes. I think it's a good movie. But I think I just like this better because it's De Niro and Pesci. Is my guess, and I like De Niro and Pesci more than Stallone. There's a lot of things, of course, that happen in this movie. You see, it's kind of a sad story. You watch the downfall of Jake LaMotta, who is played by Robert De Niro, very much as he slowly alienates more and more people. It is, at the same time, he had it coming to him. Like, I'm just gonna say that the dude had it coming to him. He's kind of a terrible person in this movie. And we mentioned that earlier, that it's about how his violence takes down his personal life, which his violence is I mean, it's what makes him a great fighter, which is obviously what makes fighters. You gotta be you gotta be somewhat violent to be a fighter. That's just what it is. It's fighting, but in this, it ends up bleeding into his family and his friends. It ends up taking him down. He ends up getting. I mean, we already did this, but if you haven't watched it, it came out in 1980, so we're a little past the time that I should really be doing spoilers, but that's what we do. Um, it is he loses a two wives because he has one wife in the beginning, gets rid of her for another one, loses her too, loses his brother, loses all of his friends, and then he ends up at the end of the movie being, even though he was a championship prized fighter, he ends up being a bum. He even calls himself a bum in the end of the towards the end of the movie. Um, but he does a lot of questionable things along the way too. So it's not he does a ton of questionable things along the way, and not saying that everybody else is perfect. And nobody's perfect. I'm not saying that anybody, even in the movie, was a stand-up person. They're, you know, they're all a little shady, especially some of the stuff that happens with the betting and things like that in this. You have a lot of shadiness going on, but it ends up being it ends up throwing him into obscurity, and he blames other people for that, even though it's a good amount his fault. So, um, if you've never seen it, if I spoiled it for you, if you're like me, if you, I've never really talked about this. I'm not one that gets spoiled by movies. So even if I know what's gonna happen, I can still go watch it and enjoy a movie. I know a lot of people aren't that way. And everybody's a little bit different. If you haven't seen the movie and you if you like Rocky, I would recommend watching this movie. If you are like me and you're not a big fan of fighting movies, I wouldn't watch this movie. One of the ways that I look or think about how I enjoy a movie or how much I enjoy a movie is how often I look at my phone or look at the time and try to figure out how much time is left in the movie. And for this one, I think I did that twice. Now it's just the way I am. Sometimes movies, I always pretty much always look at the time before I go in to know about how long of a commitment it is, just so that I know about how long it's going to take. But there's differences in times on how long it takes me to look at my phone or look at the clock and see how long it is going to be before it's over. This one I did, like I said, twice. I looked at it about halfway through and noticed that it was no. I looked at the clock and noticed I was about halfway through at one point, and then I looked at the clock again and it was about 15 to 20 minutes from being over, and that was about the extent of it. Those are the two times that I checked. Some movies I don't ever do that because I'm that enthralled in the movie. Some movies I have to pause and stop and, go to the restroom or get up and do something or just look at my phone. Some movies I pick up my phone and look at my phone during it. Usually I don't do that, but it depends. If it's a weird, if it's a movie that I just don't care about, there's very few movies that I won't finish. I can't think of the last time that I didn't finish a movie, and I usually finish them in one sitting. So I go in knowing that this is how long it's going to take, and I watch the whole movie. I can't remember the last time that I stopped in the middle of a movie. But again, depending on how many times I look at my phone, depends on how much I figure that I enjoy the movie. Because if I'm really enjoying the movie, I'm not going to look at my phone. So anyway, hope you guys liked this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and next week, if you want to watch one with me, we're going to watch Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe from the from 1959. So, hope you guys enjoyed and have a nice week.